WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is now 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. here in the Pioneer Valley. And I want to welcome you all to another edition of the spoken word. Good morning, my baby girl from Chicago, Whitney, is already chimed in. Thank you, Jim, our remote director, letting us know that that we are live on WTCC, 4,000 watts here in the Pioneer Valley. So in addition to those of you who are tuned in across our various social media platforms, we are broadcasting here in the Pioneer Valley. 413-7. I'm sorry, I keep defaulting. I've been doing this 7 months during the pandemic remotely, and I still have our regular number in the studio in my head. 413-337-1867 is the number to chime in on the broadcast. You want to just, holler at a brother. Let me know you're listening. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. We give you a shout out, holler back at you. Where you're in from. Of course, Springfield, Mass is in the house. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other places in the house right now. So I would love to know where you're coming in from. So holler at a brother right now. Coming up at about 9:45, we'll be talking election again. But today, I got to deal with a touchy subject. And I know there are going to be folks who are going to be upset. There are going to be some of my colleagues that are going to be upset. But you know what? Jesus made people upset. And that's what we do, you know. The truth gets folks mad sometimes. It is what it is. And so I'm dealing with the subject today, the silence of Black preachers and the silence of the Black church. I dealt with not too long ago subject matter dealing with the silencing of Black voices. And, you know, it's always been the modus operandi of white supremacy to attempt to silence Black voices of dissent. The Fannie Lou Hamers, the Martin Kings, the Malcolm X's, the Adam Clayton Powells, whoever it is that raises a strong dissenting voice against white supremacy, they have to quiet them down. So they have to discredit them in some kind of way, whatever methods are necessary. And that's one thing, we understand that. But it to me, it is even more insidious when we are voluntarily quiet, when we have a platform, when we have a captive audience that can hear us speak truth to power, that we can mobilize, and we are yet quiet. And there are far too many of our preachers who are supposed to be the most independent voices in our community, who sit quietly while the Black community is ravaged, brutalized, dehumanized. And they sit and say and do absolutely nothing. That's what we're going to deal with today. 413-337-1867. Good morning, Morale. Good morning. I got Waynesboro, Virginia up in here. Alias Finney, my frat brother, Al. Good morning to you. Once again, you can rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Love to know what part of the country or what part of the world you are in. So certainly want to give you a shout out if you want to rep, if you want to. Now, some of y'all, you know, might not be proud of where you come from and all that kind of stuff. And while I got you here, before I take my short break, let me, and I haven't talked any smack. this whole season yet. You know, we're like 7 weeks in football season, and I haven't talked any junk yet. I haven't said anything to anybody. You all haven't heard me say anything. I haven't posted on social media. I haven't said anything over the radio. But I think, you know, it's about time for me to. It's about time for me to say a little something, just a little something. I think, you know, because I live in the middle of a bunch of New Englanders, bunch of them. My church, New England. Everybody around me, New England. You know, everybody, you know, New Englanders around here. And then we got some other extemporaneous fans of other teams around here too, like people like Tu Balknight and the Washington Redskins, and you know, a couple of my Bayman friends and the Dallas Cowboys, and you know what I'm saying. But I couldn't help but notice the Patriots are under 500. What's up with that, y'all? Because I haven't heard anybody around here. I was wondering, why has it been so quiet? Why haven't I heard anybody talking smack about the Pats? Must be something going on. I need to kind of refocus back on the standings and see what's going on as to why I ain't heard no smack talking from Patriots fans. Right? Mike Jones, I ain't heard no Deacon Thomas. I haven't heard Deacon Jimmy Hollins. I haven't heard any smack talking among Patriots fans, and I was wondering why. Because you know I've been busy and haven't been paying too much attention, and I said, "Oh, that's why I ain't heard no smack talking among the Patriots fans." And I haven't heard nothing from Jets fans. Nothing. My younger brother, Che, he's at work, I'm sure. Che, somebody give him this message. Anybody listening to me? Che, the Jets are 0-6. I'm having too much fun with this right now, y'all. They're 0-6. And I was wondering why I haven't heard no smack talking from Jets fans. And now I realize why I haven't heard any smack talking from any Jets fans. I ain't heard no Raiders fans. I ain't heard no Broncos fans saying nothing. I ain't heard none of them saying nothing. And I was just wondering why. What the problem is. I ain't heard the Eagles and I ain't heard the Cowboys fans saying nothing. You know, how pitiful, and I know I got to get into what I really need to talk about today, but how pitiful is your division? To all my Cowboy fans, all my Philadelphia Eagle fans, how pitiful is your division when you can lead the division with a 2-4 record? I mean, at the top, that's the top team in the division. The top team is 2-4. How pathetic. Oh boy. All right, let me get out of this little diatribe right here, and let me just close this whole football diatribe by talking about my own team, because I know somebody is saying, Bishop Swan, why don't you talk about your own team instead of talking about our teams? All right, I'll talk reluctantly. I'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steeler Nation. I'll talk about 6-0, undefeated. I'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. 413-337-1867 is the number here. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Don't go nowhere. Rep your city, rep your town. Tell somebody the bishop is on the air. We'll be right back.
A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. Today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree. In every tree there is a forest. Who and what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem.
Remember the talk they gave to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. Remember the talk they gave to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you.
Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft mind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character. So don't sweat the small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you haven't lived long enough to know everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into three parts. First you learn, then you earn, and then you return. You gotta give back.
Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. I need to know how to be a man. So many things I don't.
All right, 90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Some folks are on other platforms looking for the Facebook. We are at Bishop Talbert Swan, facebook.com, Talbert Swan, / Talbert Swan. That's where we're broadcasting on Facebook from our new public figure page. So that's where we'll be from now on. For those who are used to Facebook, I know I had a lot of faithful Facebook followers before they unpublished my page for having the audacity to expose white supremacists. 50 some odd thousand followers, and so you guys have been trying to find a brother. That's where I am. Spread the word, let somebody know who's looking on Facebook. But we're also on Twitter / Periscope. We're on YouTube as well. So catch us where you can catch us. All right. 413-337-1867. Let me get the number up on the screen. For those who want to holler at a brother today, 413-337-1867. Good morning, Chris. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning to everybody. I want to start calling out a bunch of names because, then I forget somebody. Good morning, Falba. That's where we are, Falba, on Facebook. Go to the Bishop Talbert Swan page, and you can find us there and spread that around. Chicago Bears fan. I'm done with the football diatribe, so I ain't gonna mess with that no more. But let's get into this conversation. In our community, there is a need for voices to rise up against injustice. And traditionally in the Black community, the most independent and strongest voices, thank you for sharing that, Chris, independent and strongest voices have always come from the Black church. If you study the human rights movement, civil rights movement, you'll see a lot of people from the faith community at the forefront of the movement. Your Martin Kings, your Malcolm X's, your Ralph Abernathy's, your Andrew Young's, your Fred Shuttlesworth's, so many others that come from the faith community. And that's because members of the faith community who drew their livelihood from churches, mosques, and other faith communities were accountable to the people. And they didn't have to worry about the establishment taking something from them, holding something over their head as a carrot to try to silence them. That's the reason why people like J. Edgar Hoover had to use the resources of the federal government, the FBI, to create a counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO, to spy on Black leaders, because we had nothing that we could use for leverage to shut you up. No money, not a job. We couldn't threaten to fire you, take any money from you or anything. So we have to dig up something on you. So we're going to spy on you. We're going to find out if you got extramarital affairs or whatever's going on in your private life. And then we'll try to use that as a cudgel. We'll try to use that as leverage to keep you quiet. Good morning, Stephanie Johnson. That's what we'll use. And that's always been a tactic to try to keep us quiet. The problem I have is when Black preachers decide to be quiet on their own volition and in exchange for nothing. They're not getting anything, no provisions, no resources. Your people are not being respected. And my question is, why are you reluctant to speak truth to power in those types of situations? In my reading of scripture, in every contact that Jesus made with anyone, their life was changed dramatically for the better. He had the ability to step into any condition, into any circumstance, to change it for the better. And it's obvious when you read scripture, Jesus was not some flower child, some we are the world type that they want you to believe he was. Jesus was a radical. He was a revolutionary. He challenged religious authority. He spoke truth to power. He defied one of the most powerful empires in history. That's the fact of the matter. He wasn't a conservative, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy like the white evangelicals want you to think that he was. He didn't come back to preserve the status quo, but he came to shake it at its very foundation. He wasn't burdened with the need to be liked by people. He didn't care if people liked him. I don't understand why preachers want to be liked so much that they're reticent to speak truth to power. Jesus wasn't worried about people. They disliked him so much they crucified him. Okay? So he wasn't moved by the need to be liked. He wasn't moved by the desire for expediency. He wasn't moved by the desire for convenience. Instead, he simply allowed truth to reign supreme. And it's time for Black preachers to embrace the heart of Jesus Christ, the example of Christ, not just by quoting scripture, but by letting your actions speak louder than your words. Now, I've always felt this. This is nothing new. This has been a thorn in my flesh for many, many years, having been an active preacher since my teenage years. That's always bothered me. Every now and then it rises up to the surface a little more than usual. And in light of the current situation here in the city of Springfield, where I was removed as a chaplain from the Springfield Police Department, and they made up a bogus reason as to why they did it, and I'm going to explain that momentarily. It's bothersome that I literally have received calls, text messages, messages of support, people asking what can they do in this situation from all over this nation, literally all over this nation, from Chicago to New York to Baltimore to Los Angeles to Miami, literally from colleagues of mine all over the nation, but not from colleagues of mine right here in the city of Springfield, where this atrocity took place, where I live and where I serve with these colleagues. No calls of support. No, Bishop, what can we do to come together as a coalition of clergy to speak truth to power? What can we do to speak against this rogue police department? What can we do to galvanize our collective influence to speak truth to power in this situation? Not from the preachers right here in Springfield. Haven't heard that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. All right. Guess caller didn't want to say anything. 413-337-1867. And my question is, why not? Why are preachers in my city so willing to sit on the sidelines when Black people are being maligned, mistreated, dehumanized, brutalized, discriminated against, and oppressed? When your fellow clergy members are being mistreated, why are we so willing to sit on the sideline and say nothing and do nothing? Somebody help me understand that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Bishop Swan, it's a pleasure, sir, to be on your show. And I have a question for you concerning this very important topic that you're dealing with this morning, sir. My question is, how is it that you are able, if you do, reconcile preachers, and I'm just going to call it like it is, a preacher, let's just say a Bishop T.D. Jakes, with a platform as wide and as vast as he has, who I find does not speak this truth to power, that I think is extremely important, especially concerning the demographic that exists in his church, that he should be speaking to uplift his people, regardless of the money that he's bringing in. And maybe that's the threat, because he sees that as something that can be taken away from him. And I'm just curious. I just wanted you to speak to that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I believe it is. I believe that many of them are reluctant because they feel, they don't want to be labeled. They want to be labeled a rabble rouser, a bomb thrower. anything like that, even though that's how they labeled Jesus, even though that's how they labeled MLK, all of the heroes that they talk about. And then secondly, they don't want anyone to come after them. They don't want anyone to speak disparagingly about them. They don't want anything to be taken from them. And here's the thing. In most cases, TD Jakes may be an exception because he has so many things going on with his various enterprises. We don't know exactly who he's doing business with or who he feels like he may jeopardize something with if he speaks truth to power. But most of these preachers don't have those types of entanglements. They're not going to lose anything because they don't get any resources. And those are the ones I'm confused about. I'm not confused about a Jakes. I understand full well that from someone like a Jakes perspective, I'm selling millions of dollars worth of books. I can't turn off this audience who buys my books, or this audience who attends my conferences, or this audience who funds my movies. So I get that he is reluctant to speak truth to power because he feels like he has too much to lose. I don't believe that's a legitimate excuse for it at all. But most of these preachers don't have nothing to lose and still won't speak up.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And you know, in rural Virginia, that is one of the issues that I have. I've been a preacher for about 15 years, and I walked away from that. But just hearing you encourages me, sir. I can't tell you enough, because this is what my wife and I have been looking for, to hear a black preacher. I take a liking to Brother Haynes out there. The Haynes out in Texas.
That's my good friend.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all over Haynes. I love what he's doing. I love what you're doing. But y'all are like, the sad part is y'all are like outliers. Like, where the rest of the black preachers at? Where they at? I just don't, I'm not seeing it. I'm not really hearing it. And if there's a network that is doing that, please tell the viewers where we can hear these other brothers that are speaking that truth.
Yeah. There's some other brothers out there. You have your Bishop Darren Moores. You have your Rudolph McKissick's. There is a network of other brothers who are out there speaking truth to power. But as you noted, they are too far and few in between. You know, in most places, even in major cities, you're lucky to have maybe 2 or 3 that may speak out in major cities. In small towns like mine, oh man, you know, it's just sad that we are supposed to be the voices that speak truth to power in the public sphere, and our voice is muted. We've got laryngitis.
That's right. Well, I again, sir, I thank you for what you're doing, following your work, and anything we can do to support you from VA, we'll do that for real.
All right, I appreciate your call. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
413-337-1867. Yeah, maybe y'all can help me understand. And I don't expect any of the preachers to call, because, you know, they're probably mad. I don't really care. Somebody tell me, where's the lie? If I'm lying, then I'll care. Where's the lie? Because I've been out here 30 years in Springfield, and I know who's been out here and who hasn't. I know who's been speaking truth to power and who hasn't. Okay? So where's the lie? Now the Springfield Police Department said, we didn't renew our relationship with Bishop Swan because he didn't come to a meeting in the last 3 years. Now, I called Ryan Walsh from the police department and told him he was a liar. I told him to his face he was a liar. I called the chief of staff and told him Ryan Walsh was a liar. That my arrangement from day one when I became a chaplain was that I would not be able to regularly attend the chaplain's on-call meeting because of a conflict with the monthly meeting of the NAACP general membership, of which I'm the president. Have to be there. The 4th Tuesday of the month. Since before I became president, was the set time for the general membership meetings of the NAACP. The captain at the time I came on as a chaplain understood this. The lead chaplain, Reverend Gail Hill, knew this. They both knew this full well. And it's been acknowledged periodically over time that my missing a meeting is not indicative of my disinterest. It's a scheduling conflict. But every time I was on call, for the days that I signed up for to be on call, I was always available. Now, whether or not the commanding officer called me in was strictly up to them. That's a police issue. We have no control over that. But I was always available when I was on call. Reverend Hill knows this. I'm not sure if she'll speak up and confirm it. She knew this. The police knew this. And even after I called Ryan Walsh and told him he was a liar and explained that situation to him, he says, well, Bishop, I will call Reverend Hill. I'll call the captain and confirm that. And I will call the paper and make a retraction if that pans out. Well, after that call, he got a call from the Boston Globe. He doubled down on the lie. Now, here's the thing. You know, don't mess with me like that. Don't play with me in that manner. Because the one thing in the day and age of modern technology, in the day and age where we are constantly communicating by text message and email, there's always receipts. Always receipts that are available. So I sent to Ryan. I sent to confirm. And he said 3 years. Here is a message between myself and the lead chaplain, Reverend Hill, just September. Good day, Reverend Hill. Gentle reminder. And I've got 7 of these, by the way. Gentle reminder that NAACP membership meetings are every 4th Tuesday, which conflicts with the chaplain's meeting. Thus, I am not missing the meeting because of a lack of interest in being a chaplain, only because of that scheduling conflict. Her response to me, Talbert, I'm aware of your situation. Here is an acknowledgement that I was excused from those meetings and they were aware of that situation. I got the receipts, y'all. So what you read in the paper. So for those of you, those Negroes who are on Facebook saying, yeah, well, man, I don't know because he didn't go to the meetings. Y'all so quick to believe everything white people put in print that you don't check for the real facts. You so quick to believe what your oppressor says. And I don't understand for the life of me, how the hell you gonna be so quick to believe a police department that consistently lies, crack you upside your head and then lie on the police report. We've got an officer on duty now collecting a paycheck from the Springfield Police Department who was convicted last month of brutalizing a 15-year-old black boy at Commerce High School and falsifying the police report. We've got a police commissioner who was convicted of falsifying a police report. And then y'all gonna be quick as black people to believe a statement from the police because they said it, like they don't lie. So no, they didn't get rid of Brother Swan because I missed no meetings. Are you stupid to believe that? They got rid of me because I'm speaking too loudly about the corruption in the department. because I'm bold enough and unafraid enough, and I'm not bought and paid for. So the only thing they had to take from me was a chaplain's badge. 10 years ago, Dominic Sarno took my CDBG grant that we had for our Teens for AIDS Prevention program because I stood up against him when he took a contract away from a black agency to give it to a white criminal who has since that time admitted in federal court that he was paying kickbacks to the mob and to city employees. And at that time, I said, I will never, ever apply for another dime of city money or receive any resources from the city because they will never have anything to hold over my head and use as leverage to keep me quiet. So I guess the only thing they had left was to remove me as chaplain. Because in the wake of this DOJ report, 14 indicted officers, another convicted officer for beating a kid at Commerce, all that's going on in the department, Swan is too loud. And here's my question to you, to the community. How sincere can this administration be in terms of claiming they want to repair the relationship between the black community and the police, and they want to engender trust with the community, when they will get rid of your NAACP president, the one who leads the largest, the oldest, and most influential civil rights organization in America? They will get rid of him, lie about it, but try to convince you they're trying to build trust with the black community. That don't even go together. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Pastor Swan, we hear you. And we want to step forward, but we're just in time because the presidential election is coming up, and we don't know how Biden is going to be, so we can just kill two birds with one. We can just kill two birds or three birds with one stone. So just keep doing what you're doing and pull forward. We are behind you, Pastor Swan. We are behind you.
All right.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate your call. 413-337-1867. That tells you how serious they are. I mean, who strategized? Say, let's see. Here's a good way how we prove we're trying to build trust in the black community. We'll lie on the president of the NAACP. Come on, y'all. Come on. And in the meantime, black preachers are twiddling their thumbs. And here's the thing. What they'll do to me, you better believe they'll do it to you. You sit there and you twiddle your thumb. And I'm talking about black preachers who have sent their members to me when they got in trouble. When the police went upside their children's head, or they were discriminated on their job. These are the same black preachers who tell their members, go see Reverend Swan, who are too afraid to speak out on this issue. Yeah, I said it. I said, you can call your pastor up. I know y'all doing it already. Y'all already texting them and telling them Bishop Swan on the radio talking about y'all. They'll go right ahead. Because anybody who knows me knows there's nothing I'm saying right here I won't say directly to them. I'm tired of lily-livered preachers in the black community who won't speak truth to power. When the woman was caught in adultery in the Bible and she was about to be stoned to death, Jesus didn't pray for her and go back to business as usual. He didn't preach a little sermon among his little core group and leave her out there. No, he spoke out. And he said, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And by him speaking out, he saved that woman's life. People's lives are on the line, and we got preachers with laryngitis who won't speak out. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Pastor Swan again. You don't have to worry about nothing. You are educated. Everybody sees that. Everybody hears that. So you don't have to worry about nothing. Keep talking what you talking. We are behind. I'm David E. Leonard, and I'm known, and I'm willing to die for your cause. So just keep doing what you're doing. And they know me downtown, okay? They know I got 5 years of psychology, and they know I am not afraid just like you. They know this. They know David E. Leonard. They know me, okay?
All right. Bless you, brother. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for calling. 413-337-1867. I know they're going to say Bishop Swan is angry. He's mad. No, I'm frustrated. This is righteous indignation. What has to happen for black preachers to speak out? What has to happen in this city? I've been there with families when young black men were killed by police. Black preachers sat on the sideline. I've been there when this city would shortchange black agencies with CDBG money, where in 1 year, a couple of years ago, they gave every black agency that serviced the Mason Square agency a combined total of $46,000. That was your Girls Club, your MLK, your Urban League, your Children's Study Home, all of them combined $46,000. One agency in the Latino community got 5 times that. One agency in the white community got 5 times that. And when I stood up to say, hey, something's wrong because the negative status indicators of black people is what's driving the numbers for this money to be sent here, but you're not providing those resources to the agencies that serve those constituents. Black preachers sat on the sideline, said nothing. When they reduced the requirements for the fire commissioner down from a master's degree to someone who only had an associate's degree so they could hire their favorite white boy. And I highlighted the fact they would have never done this for a black person. Black preachers sat silently. When black men in the fire department were up for promotion, they skipped over them so they could promote white men who didn't live in Springfield, even though being a supervisor, residency was a requirement. That's in court right now. Black preachers sat on the sideline, said nothing. What has to happen? When I was speaking out on behalf of the family of Taheem Goff, when he was murdered by a Springfield police officer, this was pre-Michael Brown era. He and 2 other teens in a car, police officers shooting into a car recklessly with 3 black teens and killed Taheem. And we were advocating for his family. Black preachers sat silent. What needs to happen in Springfield for a black preacher to open up his mouth? Somebody tell me, does it have to happen to your family? Do they have to burn your church down? I've been there with them threatening to burn my church down, threatening to shoot me, murder my family. What has to happen for black preachers to say, you know what? Let's wrap our arms around our brother and sister. I'm confused. I am completely confused as to what needs to happen for black preachers to have the intestinal fortitude and the spiritual conviction to speak truth. 413-337-1867. And I suggest to you, my brothers and sisters, the black church is in a precarious position in 2020 because there are many black people that are actually turning away from churches. Okay. And the reasons vary, but one of the main reasons is the Black community in general thinks of the American church as a religion that generally disregards institutional racism, mass incarceration, police brutality, whether it's in America's past or present. They believe that the church has abdicated its responsibility to speak out on these particular issues. And so we've lost a whole generation who really believes that the church is just like the establishment, that they should be spoken against just like the establishment. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Good, man. I just wanted to first and foremost say, man, I want to you and your family, man, that you have the peace and blessings and mercy of Christ to keep you protected. And as a brother in the community, I totally support you, man. For years, you have been the only Black pastor on the front lines, and it is commendable what you do for the community and the jeopardy you put your family under in these times. I just want to commend you. And I also want to say, this is why a lot of, when they ask where are the men at in church, this is why a lot of Black men, and particularly heterosexual Black men, don't go to church as often as they would like, because we feel sometimes there's no power and there's no marching orders to be given. And so when we look at the playing fields around here, a lot of people just don't have the heart, Bishop. And if I can use a term that we use when we hang with one another, a lot of these men are cowards, man. Just to be honest with you, and they don't understand, maybe like you do, about Black liberation theology. Maybe they don't understand that Jesus said the good shepherd will lay down his life for his people. And so, and a lot of them just don't have the fortitude to move in that vein. And I don't think that they would care even if it happened to someone in their church. They probably would again send them to you. Look at the makeup of the men who are pastors in these churches, and you can tell where they are at spiritually. They are what we call spiritual cowards. They hide behind long suffering. They hide behind Jesus wasn't in the politics, and they take scripture and they use it in a way they keep the sheep in their church dumb, deaf, and blind. And so you're not by yourself. You have some brothers that are with you, Bishop. They cannot try to do anything, as student minister Johnny Muhammad said. They're not going to do nothing to you. They're not going to put their hands on you. We're not going to let them hurt you. And you're not by yourself. And I just want you to know that, brother, no matter what, you're my brother. Me and you may have a disagreement, but can't nobody else disagree with you and do anything to you that's going to hurt you, your wife, and your family. And I'm not just saying this to be saying it, man, and to get brownie points, but you got some Black men in this community who are on their side, don't go to church, and all of that. So just stand in there, brother, and keep it up, man. Don't worry about these spiritual cowards. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I know, let me just say this for the record, so you all don't think I'm castigating all Black preachers. I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but the vast majority. And there are some brothers who I know I can depend on. I know a brother Mark Bayman, a brother J.P. Morgan, a brother Paul Starnes, a brother Anthony Roberson. I know a brother McCullough. There are preachers in this city that I know that, when push comes to shove, we can call them together and we can galvanize. And I know I'm leaving some out, but what I'm saying to you is there are far too few that are willing to speak truth to power against white supremacy institutional racism and anti-Black bigotry, whether it comes against me or their own members. And we've got to get out of that melees and stop being afraid to speak. When the Bible tells us to cry loud and spare not, that it's talking to us. Let me shift and bring the First Lady on. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you've been monitoring the conversation?
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
Yeah, I'm in rare form because we got strange fruit hanging from our trees, cages that are continuing to be filled with singing birds, and the Black church is silent and seems almost indifferent concerning the plight of the people it ministers to every day. And the church prophesies to young Black people who are in Christ, and they tell them what God has for you is for you, but they generally refuse to speak out against dismantling the system that has oppressed African Americans and continues to suppress us. And there's just sometimes that just fills me up, that the church, which should be the most powerful advocate for justice, is sometimes the most silent on the issue.
Well, I mean, I understand, babe. I'm just a tad bit, a little in disagreement, and I guess maybe from my experiences, I do believe that the Black church is still the biggest voice against injustice and certainly liberation.
It may be, but you do know that those are few voices.
I do agree that in certain instances that it feels that way. But this is what I think. I think that every preacher has not been called to a liberation theology and to preach a liberation theology and to tie our real lives, our lived lives, to our theology and our spirituality or our religious experiences. And what I mean by that is,
it may not be a liberation theologian from the standpoint of the Garrett Wilmores or the James Cones, but the theme of liberation and justice, the Bible is replete with this theme. And I don't believe you can preach a holistic gospel and never deal with that subject. And here's what I also don't believe: whether you're a liberation theologian or not, I don't believe you can be effective in your craft if you don't speak out against the ills that affect those that you minister to.
I'm not in disagreement. I'm not in disagreement, but everybody is not going to be as bold.
No, I don't expect that. I don't expect
that. Right. I don't expect that. So I just want to make that clear. I do
not expect that.
Every family
to be out on the forefront as I am.
Okay, but let me just finish. But babe, let me just finish this statement. I'm just saying every family has not been called to make a sacrifice to liberation theology either. I believe that your whole family, your wife, your children, all of us have been called to this work, to this ministry, so it's a gift. It is a gift that you are executing. It is a gift that this family is helping you to execute. Everybody can't live with being threatened, or their wives and their families being threatened every day, and deal with that and still go on and still, do what they do, still live their lives without anxiety, still live their lives, without, serious repercussions.
Right there, babe. I don't want to interrupt you, but we're at 9:59. Let me transition out from WTCC. I want to thank all of you all for listening today. If you want to continue to listen, jump on our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube. We'll continue the conversation beyond this point. If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. And until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember God loves you, and so do I. For the rest of you, hold tight. We'll be right back. All right, we're off on 90.7. Back on with our streaming audience. So let me say this, babe, to your point. Yes, every family is not called to go through, what we've been through and continue to go through. But I do believe that there are those times, as the scripture talks about, dogs that are too dumb to bark. There are times, case in point, when you have a guard dog, it doesn't bark all the time, but when a robber is coming to the house, when there are certain times it's supposed to bark. And all I'm saying is, I don't expect for every preacher to be out on the forefront of social issues like I am on a consistent basis. That's my calling. That's what I do. I do expect that there are some times that automatically rise to the occasion that dog ought to be barking. There are some things that happen in our community that even if that ain't your calling as a preacher, this is an issue I need to speak out against. There's something when a young black boy gets murdered in your city, and an unarmed, innocent black kid gets murdered in your city, that's a time where I don't care what your calling is, you ought to be saying something. When certain things occur that brutalize and dehumanize black people, that's a time where I don't care if you're a prosperity preacher, I don't care if you got a jailhouse ministry, whatever it is, that is a time where we ought to be coming together and speaking with a collective voice. And all I'm saying is, in this city, there are times there have been things that have happened where most of the preachers don't say anything. So my question is, that's why I asked, what has to happen? What rises to the occasion that you feel you need to speak out?
Okay, I don't know if I'm playing devil's advocate. I tend to with you, we kind of, I guess I'm your great debater, every once in a while.
What has to happen?
Yeah,
what needs to happen?
Okay. So
do they need to round us all up and start lynching us? I mean, what needs to happen?
Attempt to try to put, some framework into this, as a Black woman and as a member of this community and as a member of the greater community. And I mean, within the Black church and also within the greater community of, say, Springfield or this country. Okay, so there are instances, and when you agree with this, there are instances where people are with you, supporting you, and they are adding their voice to the fight of injustice or to the fight of liberation and freedom. Everybody don't verbalize it. Sometimes people speak with their support, or sometimes people speak with their resources, or sometimes people speak with their encouragement, or whatever the case may be. So everybody is not going to come out, to no press conference. Everybody is not going to show up, in front of a mic with the news media and this, that, and the other. Everybody is not skilled enough. I mean, look at me. I've had to do these things here lately. I've been kind of pushed out there. I'm very uncomfortable with it. but you know that I'm like 1000% behind the movement. I'm 1000%. I'm like invested. I'm totally invested. But I don't always have the skill. Hold up, babe. I don't always have the skill set, the knowledge, the know-how to verbalize that, to communicate that, you know, in a proper way, you know, or whatever the case may be, to where it can be impactful, to where it can be concise, to where it can be the most efficient. So like I said, and you said it, whether you know it or not, it is a calling for certain people. It is a calling for certain people.
Let me expand on your point, because that's a good point. And so I want you to, everybody, to completely understand that I do not expect for every preacher to be on the bullhorn, to be out in the front in the manner in which I advocate.
So you need to make that clear.
I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been dealing with people in different ways. There are many people who can support behind the scenes and never say anything, and you never even see their face or know who they are. There are folks who can raise money. There are people who can encourage their members to support organizations like the NAACP. I've got a couple of friends who every year they round up their members of their church to be members of the branch and to support the branch. And there are all kinds of quiet ways that people can support. So I'm not saying everybody has to be out in the forefront. And here's my thing. Here's my thing. My thing is this. What I'm basing my diatribe on today is not those who haven't stood up on a bully pulpit. I'm saying there are those who haven't stood up on a bully pulpit, but there are those who haven't even tried to quietly support. There are those who won't even pick up a telephone to offer encouragement or to say, is there anything I can do?
Can I say this?
Like that.
Can I say this about that? Can I say this about that? And this again is not to be argumentative, okay? This again is not to be argumentative. But could this possibly be exactly what the enemy wants, though, for us to get caught up on those instead of continuing to collect those that are coming in or that are being supportive and maybe in different in different ways? Because I don't necessarily believe, though, that the majority are those that are not engaged or not supported. I don't necessarily believe that. At least I don't want to believe it. You know,
well, you don't want to believe it. I've been doing this too long.
I don't want to believe it. But
here's the thing, babe.
Maybe I don't want to believe it.
Here's the thing. I have been doing this too long. I'm not just saying stuff off the cuff. I don't even need to rattle off the list of stuff that I've been involved in and things I've advocated for and all. I don't need to do that, but I can certainly tell you that the level of support and engagement from preachers has been far below what it should be. And that's just the reality. Hold it, babe. That was even the case. That was even the case in Dr. King's day. This is nothing new. When Dr. King wrote his letter from a Birmingham jail, he was castigating preachers. He was reprimanding the preachers for their lack of engagement. So this isn't anything, that's special for our day. And it's a fact whether we want to believe it or not.
Well, okay. So like I said, I'll leave that up to you. I'll let you deal with those. I prefer to stay on the other side because I know that down through the years, and you've been doing this for close to 30 years, and we've been married for 30 years. So you've always been an activist, and I've seen the maturation. I've had to consciously make the decision that I got to make this sacrifice. I got to help to support and build my family, establish my family, give them the stability that they need so that you can do this work and so that we can live and be comfortable and not worried and not concerned, or whatever the case may be. But I know this, that just about every day, every time I'm out and I'm engaged in the community, people walk up to me. I meet somebody that walks up to me and say, I listen to your husband. I know you don't know me, but I know who y'all are. I'm praying for you. I sent a donation to the church, and this. So those are the people. Those are the people that we know. Those are the people that we don't know, that I believe, God has blessed you to be able to reach, that are really genuinely concerned for us, praying for us, helping to sustain us, whether it be in prayer, whether it be, collectively, bringing in activating our faith, to keep us safe, to keep our children safe, to keep our family safe, and this, that, and the other. The threats that we live with. When we were being harassed and followed by the police. So it is people out there in this country, abroad, that support us, that love us, and so on and so forth. So I'm not gonna,
I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that.
I just don't want to spend all of our time, focused on the people.
This one show. This is not all of our time.
I don't want to.
We spend the majority of our time advocating.
I'm not talking about this show. I'm talking about our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spend all of our time talking about those people that don't support us, that don't support you, and in your efforts, and don't speak up and don't speak up.
Do that. We don't.
I just want to make this other statement. So when you think about, because you're talking about religious leaders, right? So when you're talking about religious leaders, that's who you're talking about. That's the group that you're specifically, speaking to, right? You're talking about religious leaders. So when I think about religion, one thing that those of us who have experienced this, or whatever, and everybody has it, and I understand it. I understand it because at one time we was very entrenched in religion too. We have been indoctrinated religiously, not necessarily based on our personal relationship with God. And see, this is what I believe. I believe that it wasn't until I transcended, or transitioned from religiosity into relationship, that is when I also grew up or maturated into understanding why God is a God of liberation and that he is on the side of the oppressed, or whatever. It wasn't until that, though. So religion is a lot about what people can't do. That's the indoctrination that we receive, with religion. But when we transcend into relationship, it's about what we can do. Again, with our collective power, with our unity, coming together as people of faith that believe and trust in God. Like I said, I've experienced this with the transition that I've experienced within our own family. The only reason why me and your kids are not crazy with the kind of threats that you get all the time, with the kind of harassment that we've received, because, you're our loved one and so on and so forth, is because, again, we've transcended from religion and having a relationship with God based on religious practices into having a relationship with God because of our own individual personal relationships with God and understanding of God. And so he's about freedom. He's about liberation. He's about feeling. He's about empowerment. He's about educating us. He's about informing us, with knowledge and wisdom and know-how. So, So maybe, just maybe, those people who don't have that understanding of who God is as far as liberation is concerned, maybe they still very religious and they haven't transcended into relationship.
I believe part of my problem is this. We have a very cliquish, standoffish kind of. At least I can't speak for the Muslim community or the Jewish community, but I know among Christian churches here in our city, and I've pastored here for 26 years, so I have a little bit of experience as far as that is concerned. Where when Jesus says, "I was hungry, you didn't feed me; I was sick and in prison, you didn't visit me," etc. We are often guilty of that with each other when we know that our fellow Christian brothers or sisters are going through something, a time of turmoil or whatever it is, and we won't reach out or extend a hand or try to be supportive in some kind of way. When, case in point, when the Emmanuel 9 were murdered, we knew that resonated throughout the AME family. And I immediately called up Reverend Dawson and said, is there anything we can do from the Church of God in Christ to support you all, during this time? There's no way that my brother's church would burn down or he would be threatened or something like that I would not reach out in some kind of way just to say, listen, I don't know what I can do, but if I can be of support in any way, for whatever reason, Black preachers in our city are reluctant to even engage with each other on that level. And that's problematic. Let me finish now, babe. That's problematic.
I wasn't interrupting.
So my thing is this: how can we be silent while the very people that we minister to are suffering under an unjust system that oppresses them socially and economically? The responsibility to say something is not just for those folks even that we minister to. It's also for those we don't minister to. It's for Pookie and Ray Ray and them and all of that. The Black church should be out there. And all I'm suggesting, because this is the conversation in the public sphere, is that the church has lost its credibility as the voice of the Black community. It's gone the way of building big churches instead of building its community. It seems more interested in how many members it gets versus how it can positively affect the lives of the members that it does have. And that's not every Black church, but too many are silent. And so it needs to say something. Here's what Dr. King said. I'll read this. And then, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this, babe. I'm going to read this. This is what Dr. King says from his letter from a Birmingham jail. Wherever the early Christians entered a town, the power structure got disturbed and immediately sought to convict them for being disturbers of the peace and outside agitators. But they went on with the conviction that they were a colony of heaven and had to obey God rather than man. They were small in number, but big in commitment. They were too God intoxicated to be astronomically intimidated. They brought an end to such ancient evils as infanticide and gladiatorial contests. Things are different now. The contemporary church is so often a weak, ineffectual voice with an uncertain sound. It is so often the arch supporter of the status quo. Far from being disturbed by the presence of the church, the power structure of the average community is consoled by the church's silence and often vocal sanction of things as they are. That's the most powerful point he made in that, is that the power structure is not disturbed by the presence of the church. They're consoled because they know we can lie on a Bishop Swan, kick him out of the chaplaincy, or we can do this to this preacher over here or that one over there. And the one thing we can bank on is none of these black preachers are going to stand up and support their own brother. The power structure can depend on that.
Well, I don't know. I just don't know if I agree with spending all of our time and energy, or a lot of our time and energy, on that. I just don't. And and like I said, I'm not in full agreement that the majority of people are like that. I just don't believe that. Now I do believe.
You don't have to agree with reality. You don't have to agree with reality. I can tell you.
That's your reality. That's your reality. My reality is a little different.
I can tell you as a preacher.
My reality is a little different, sweetie.
As a preacher who has had his church threatened to be burned down, as a preacher who has had his life threatened on many occasions. I've got over 500 death threats in the last 3 months.
I thought I was there with you through all of that.
This is what I'm saying is,
I do think that some of those threats came to me.
My point, the point I'm making is this isn't stuff I'm just making up and saying that preachers don't reach out and support. This is a reality. This is a reality. And I know it may not make you or anybody else.
Listen to what I'm saying.
It may not make folks feel comfortable to hear me talk about it, but it's still a reality.
Babe, I'm not in disagreement. I don't believe the majority of people are unsupportive. I also don't believe that.
Well, they gotta tell me how they support.
I also don't believe that we should be exerting so much energy to those that
this is not so much energy.
Who are unsupported.
This is not so much energy, and I believe that folks ought to be called out.
Well, okay, so if you're spending a lot of your energy and time and resources on that, how much is that taken away from the real work that you got to do?
Sweetie, come on now.
How much is that taken away from the real work that you got to do?
Spend a lot of my time
that are standing by waiting for the next move.
I do not spend a lot of my time and resources on that, right? I do not. Most of my time is spent advocating for our people. Every now and then, I need to speak out and challenge the church for its silence and its apathy.
Tell Mike Harris that he needs to stop commenting because he don't know. I'm a woman. I'm a grown woman. I'm his wife. We've been married for almost 30 years. I can have a debate with my husband if I want to. I am a woman. Ain't nobody gonna oppress me. Ain't nobody gonna oppress me. I have an opinion just like my husband has an opinion. We are not fighting. We are not arguing. We are having a discussion. So you need to go somewhere. I just wanted to say that to Mike Harris.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air. All right. Somebody's trying to. Yes, you're on the air.
Yes. Hi. This is Sister Joy Talbert.
All right.
And I'm sitting here listening to your conversation, and I didn't get in the beginning of it.
Okay.
And this is definitely a good topic that needs to be discussed. Because I live on the East Coast, okay? And I don't see too many churches coming out even speaking on what in the world is going on with African American people that's in the church. They got all these big houses and cars, and the community is still poor, and we have homeless, but nobody doing nothing, okay? And it just grieves me, because between me and you, the Most High God sees it all. Mm-hmm. And this is why judgment is coming. This is one of the reasons why he shut the churches down, because the pastor's not preaching the real gospel. And the real gospel is he is not a white man that's on a cross that's hanging down, and y'all have them in these churches. Church of God in Christ is number one. Hold up. I come from the church, honey. I've been to the church all my life.
I'm not doing it.
I came out of the church. And I just see it's a disgusting situation. And we go to church, give our money, and nobody's doing nothing for black people. Okay? And this is worldwide. And this is all over, even over there in Africa, they waking up.
All right.
The truth.
All right. I appreciate your call. We're going to get to that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, brother pastor. It's a whole lot to unpack there, sir. But I tell you, I can appreciate first of all the lively debate that you and your lovely wife are having. It definitely reminds me of things that my wife and I have discussed, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to say this to you. I think that I understand, and I can really identify with both sides of the coin here. But I will say this: I think that one thing I've learned, and I'm not trying to tell you how to run your relationship with your wife, but I will say this: my wife understands that as a man who is fired up about community, I gotta indulge myself in self-care, and I understand where she's coming from in terms of not spending a whole lot of time majoring on things with preachers that you know you're not going to change. I agree that sounding the alarm is extremely important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she is trying to save the life and the mentality and the emotional, ramifications of all of this justice work that her husband is experiencing on a daily basis. She's right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to encourage you, Bishop,
Mm-hmm.
she loves you. She's there by your side.
Mm-hmm.
But while you sounding the alarm, she said, baby, look, let's go to the beach. We got to get away for a little bit. The work is going to be there, but at the same time, she doesn't want you to get yourself burned out. Now, I will say this, that the other side of the coin is this, and I think this bears the burden of proof when it comes in terms of preachers who are dealing with congregations. They respect what the pastor said. And so if the pastor is nonchalant, he's kowtowing and not necessarily confronting issues in his community, he is creating a cyclical effect in terms of weak-back, jelly-back parishioners that will inhabit his community. And so that I understand is the frustrating part, because you understand that folk pay attention to what the pastor says. And if he or she is not speaking truth to power, you got a bunch of weak black folk inhabiting your city who don't stand up for nothing.
Right.
But you can't allow yourself, and I understand because you're passionate, and I got it. But at the same time, do what you do, whosoever will, let him come.
And Reverend, for the most part, that is what we do. We take those who are willing to step up and push the agenda, and we move forward with them. And 99.9% of the presentations and shows I do are advocating for our community and pushing and highlighting the things that we are doing, to change the current circumstances. Every now and then, we push back a little bit and challenge the church. So I completely hear what you're saying in terms of where my wife's vantage point, and I completely understand what she's saying. I'm just saying I don't believe I spend an inordinate amount of time dealing with that issue, because I'd be talking about it every week.
More than you realize.
As often as we have issues going on that are being ignored by our church community, it could be a topic of every week.
It's more than you realize. And I don't, I don't say this in a disparaging way, but what I think the brother just reminded me of is that you can't do this work alone. And so your family has had to consciously make the decision that we got to do this with dad, with my husband. And so, so you just got to remember that when we've already given you up to the community, like we made the sacrifice to give you up to the community. And so it's like, I feel like as a wife, it's like, okay, I've already made the sacrifice to give him up to the community, to give him up to the church, and this, that, and the other, so he can do this work and so we can get behind him and support him. So do you think that we want to see you wasting your time on the non-supporters when we done already had to give so much of you up, as your family? No, we don't.
See, Bishop, that's resonating. That resonates big time. When she said, and First Lady, you correct me if I'm wrong, but when you said, you have, that's a power in that. Good God Almighty. When she said, we have already given you up to the community.
Yes.
So she is making the sacrifice already to say, look, baby, I know this is what you do. I know you married to the movement. I'm right there with you. But see, somebody got to have a bridle on the man of God at some point, right? Because you can get headlong into your work, and sometimes, you get so bogged down in it that you forget that you don't want to burn yourself out, and that's why she's there to pull you back and say, look, not trying to take the work away from you, because that's what you do, but the support that she's giving you by saying, look, babe, don't spend all your time right there. Look, don't pull over and park there. It's all good. If they come in, they're going to come. Let's roll. Let's get about doing the
That's
business.
it.
And take some
That's
time.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I can appreciate that, First Lady. I really can. I really admire the two of you all. I really, really do. I can see that you both are passionate about the work, and then you're passionate about your husband. So I certainly can agree with that. So Bishop, look, don't let her hit you in the head. You hear me? Don't let her hit you in the head now. Take you some time and enjoy the ride, but listen to her. It'll save you.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for your call.
All right.
Thank you.
God bless. 1-3-3-3-7-1867. For those of you all who are listening, listen. First Lady and I are
Don't read Mike Harris. Don't read his.
Oh, I'm not reading that. That's something different. We're not arguing. For those of y'all who this is what we do. This is what we do. This is a conversation. A debate, a conversation, a whatever you want to call it. So anyway, that's what it is. So at the end of the day, we good, okay? So y'all just
don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
Relax, calm down. This is what I'm saying. Dr. King and Jesus, since those are probably the two people that the Black church talks the most about. Neither of them subscribe to the simple God's gonna bless you theology. They adhered to the dogma that you gotta say something and you gotta do something. That faith without works is dead. No need to shout folks down, get them 3 points and a poem, and then hoop out a hymn if you don't speak out when they're being oppressed by systemic racism. That's just the way that I see it. They recognize that the Black community needs a voice that will address its needs and not just give them a sermon on Sunday and then send them back into the neighborhoods to deal with a broken judicial system. That's affectionately called a justice system, but it's not. To deal with dilapidated housing, messed up schools, and all of that. And both of them, both Christ, when he whipped the money lenders out of the temple and said, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you made it a den of thieves. And Dr. King, in his letter from the Birmingham jail, gave their harshest critiques of the church. So every now and then, we got to call our brothers and sisters on the carpet, because they can no longer take the immortal words of Dr. King and of Jesus and just store them away in their mental storehouse, but never apply them to the current situation of social injustice that plagues our community.
Again, I've never been in disagreement with that. I just, I think, it's a healthy balance that needs to be created, as far as like, how much time are you going to spend on, those that have not come along or come around, or whatever the case may be. Some may be choosing to be that way, but some are just ignorant. Some don't know, some don't know a better way. I'm a therapist. And what therapists are interventionists. And interventionists really are people who step into a situation, examine a situation, assess a situation, and hopefully we are equipped with enough knowledge to show our clients a better way. So sometimes you just gotta show it, like our grandmothers used to say. I'd rather see a sermon, than hear one. So sometimes you just got to live it out and show them. And then, those that are willing, are open and available and want to know better, they'll start to do better. But I just don't think that, we need to be spending a whole lot of time. I mean, this work, as you know, this work requires a lot. It takes a lot out of us. And like I said, as a family, we've already had to give up so much. Our children have already had to give up a lot, sacrifice a lot of our time. We don't get to vacation together often, or whatever. It's a lot of things that we have missed over the years, or whatever the case may be. I'm just not willing to continue to make those sacrifices. It's time for us, to continue to do the work. But we should be developing, younger leaders to come over and take the mantle over, so that we can relax, so that we can chill sometimes, and leave it in their hands.
Where y'all at, younger leaders? We waiting for y'all to step up. But see, a lot of time they feel like, just y'all just get out the way and we'll take over. That's not how it happens. It's usually a transition process, but we're more than willing to transition some of the things we do into the hands of younger, passionate leaders who are capable and willing to do this work. Because I mean, the reality is our community is riddled with some major issues, from education, police brutality, mass incarceration, voting rights discrimination, all caused by systemic racism. And it needs to be called out in the public square. And we need some voices that are willing to do it.
So that's a perfect segue, to what, we probably should make sure we talk about before your show is over, the upcoming election. We're about 8 days out. About 8 days out, so yo, this is going to be crazy. However it turns out, whatever the outcome, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be crazy. And here's
the thing: we really need to be not only vigilant of voting, but we've got to be prepared. I'm preparing a document now to send out to our churches. Hopefully, our pastors will respond accordingly, and we'll post it and stuff about some preventative measures and methods that we can do in case something pops off.
Like
we did
what?
We did that 4 years ago because of, we all know historically, when Barack Obama was first elected, they burned the Macedonia church down in this city. There's all kinds of threats that are out there now that if Trump doesn't win, what his supporters are going to go out and do. And so there's some things we need to be very vigilant, not just in voting, but in protecting ourselves after the election is over, in case these crazies start acting crazy, because they really believe this is their country, even though our ancestors built it. And what has happened in the last 4 years, there's been an unleashing of a violent racist element that no longer feels that it needs to be undercover. And so what was 4 years ago covert racism is in your face, mainstream acceptable racism now. And these nuts are just that, nuts. And we need to be prepared just in case, they want to get brolic and they start feeling froggy. We gotta be prepared to protect our women, protect our children, and protect ourselves.
Yeah, I'm really concerned both nationally as well as locally. There's been some misinformation being passed out about certain runoffs in certain districts and wards. For instance, people have misinformed people out here in Ward 8 that Orlando and Jake are running against each other, and that's not the case. So that's some misinformation. People were also misinformed, thinking that Orlando Ramos had won his election during the primaries, but no, he has an independent opponent that he's running against. So people still need to go and vote for Orlando. It's things like that happening. We had a forum this past week. I can't call the names, but I can say this, that I ended up being asked to moderate the forum. And one of the questions that I asked the candidates about Black Lives Matter also revealed like the hearts of some of these candidates running for a register of probate and also running for a state representative. One candidate revealed that he's very supportive of Black Lives Matter, and we have seen him. We've seen him at the protests. We've seen him at the rallies. We've seen him, and the one of the candidates, Democratic candidate for register of probate. We've seen them at the rallies and the protests supporting Black Lives Matter. They went to the mural painting. They participated in the painting and so on and so forth. And they've been getting harassed, getting harassed and getting called terrible names because they support Black Lives Matter. So, I mean, it's some crazy stuff going on. I feel really bad.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah,
where
is a whole other show.
where
But
people,
I'm just saying, baby, it's happening. And
yeah,
we're 8 days out, from seeing what happens, what this city is made of and what this country is made of. So I'm concerned. I'm not scared. I'm concerned because I wanted to believe that we lived in a country that was moving in the right direction, toward justice for all, liberty and justice for all. I wanted to believe that. Of course, I was kind of slapped awake, when Obama was elected, and I saw what he had to go through, and then I saw how the Republicans, were reinstated into power and all of that, all of those moves, but I just don't know. I just don't know. I'm very concerned.
Yeah. There's there's an element that does not want America to move forward, and they want to keep it mired and locked in the past, or this notion that somehow the progressive movement toward justice is not something not a place that we should be in. I wanted to show you guys. Let me see if I can get this in here. This is one of those. I don't know if you could even hear it.
Proud Boys.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what they call them, Proud Boys.
I'm trying to get the audio. Okay. Of course, it would start sticking and stuff now. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
War coming.
Okay, here we go. Listen to this guy.
Whoever wins, it's down to 2. We already know this. Third party, they don't even matter. It's down to 2. One or the other is going to win. As a certain supporter, we know which one's going to win. Trump 2020. But there's a thing about it. The reason why I say there's a war coming is because if Trump wins, Black Lives Matter and all them other Antifa dumbasses are going to try to start a war. We ready. Don't worry. We ready. Us rednecks and stuff, we ready for y'all. But if Biden wins, we coming. And we coming strong. I don't know if a lot of y'all understand this or not.
Okay, so y'all see the foolishness. Let me get that out of it. Y'all see the foolishness of this. The threat, if Biden wins, we coming, and we coming strong. This is all over the internet with nuts like this. Rednecks and folks who are threatening that they're gonna have their guns ready and what they're gonna do if Trump doesn't win. And he is encouraging this behavior by trying to cast doubt on the results of the election. That's why he keeps on talking about the election is rigged, that the mail-in voting is rigged, all of that, so that no matter how, if it turns out that he wins, they're good. But if he doesn't win, immediately they're all going to claim the election was rigged and it was fixed and against him. And he's encouraging people to be out on the streets and be violent. This is what's being encouraged at the highest level of government. I mean, he ought to be arrested for inciting violence like that.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can be on social media in such a racially charged extreme way and not be taken down. I mean, they took you down for far less.
Right. They took me down for exposing white supremacists, for exposing them,
so,
and they can get on
I'm confused
like that.
I'm confused, but I'm not confused, if that makes sense. I'm like, in other words, justice is not confusing at all. Righteousness is not confusing at all. So, we get what the right thing would be to do, but, we do live in America. So, and from what I hear, that was on Instagram, I guess. So I don't know. But anyway, I hear that Zuckerberg is a Republican supporter and he supports Trump. So I'm not surprised, that mentality has kind of trickled down throughout his organization. So they want things like that to be publicized because it does incite fear into some people. I mean, it's part of the voter suppression tactics, to keep people from voting. I've been amazed about some of the stories I've heard. Did you hear about the 94-year-old Black woman, I believe in Texas, that had her son drive her 600 miles just to vote?
Yeah, that's insane.
And so if that's not a message to other Black young women voters and Black women in general, or Black people, I should say Black people, that if she would spend that amount of time and energy just so that she could vote, I don't think any Black person, right? I don't think any Black person could justify not voting.
And who should have to go that distance? Just the road.
Well, of course, it's as part of the suppression. Well, I'm gonna call it outright depression. Or what in oppression. Okay, in oppression. It's outright oppression. It's not even suppression anymore. It's oppression, and it's blatant. It is blatant, and it is racist. I mean, but racism. This country, in every single way, not just in every system, every institution, but in the way that it processes, in the way that it thinks, in the way that it bleeds, in the way that it's constructed, it implements and creates from a racist perspective. And it is so sad. It is so sad. It is so sad that instead of wanting to see fairness and equality given to every constituent, every citizen of this country, you rather build your principles and your ideas up on a white supremacist understanding.
And then
It's so sad to me. It's so sad.
Anything that affirms the humanity of blackness is automatically perceived as being anti-white, anti-police. So we can't, as black people, we can't affirm our dignity, our character, our humanity without you being offended in some way as a white person. Like, how dare you act like black people are human?
Right. I mean, how dare you, right? How dare you act like our lives matter? Our children's lives are just as valuable as your children. How dare you, right? Scream that our kids deserve a equal education or opportunities to resources or access to resources and opportunities. How dare you, right? Right?
I mean, it's like the forum we were part of last night, discussing why do black people have to even come together to discuss why it's okay to have a mural that says Black Lives Matter. Could you imagine in the Greek community or in the Italian neighborhood or somewhere, and that somebody did a mural that gave homage to or affirmed the dignity of Italian people or the dignity of Greek people, and black people coming out saying, now that's offensive, and making a big stink about it, and people writing articles about how offensive it is, and people literally coming on to a town hall to tell you why affirming your life is offensive to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the audacity of Caucasians. That's why I call it caucasity. It's the audacity of whiteness to even tell people that affirming your life offends me. Now you're supposed to center my feelings because my feelings are more important than your lives.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to say at the forum the other night that I got a chance to help Zeta Govan moderate. I had the opportunity to say before I gave the question, or I asked the question, I should say, to the candidates. I said, now this question is very personal to me because it's about more than the art, it's about more than the expression, and it's about more than what we say, but it is our lived experiences. And then I went on to say, and quite frankly, I'm tired of explaining it. I said, as a proud Black woman, I'm tired of explaining it. And then I went on to ask a question about Black Lives Matter. So that's one perspective that I have about that. And I'm sick of explaining to people who got these contrary comments or contrary responses to Black Lives Matter. I'm sick of trying to explain to people, particularly white people, about, but we got some ignorant Black folks out there too. But Nevertheless, we're not gonna talk about them. But anyway,
We're
I'm
gonna leave
sick
the
of explaining.
Auntie Ruckuses, Auntie and Uncle Ruckuses out.
Right. But I'm sick of explaining to people that, you know, lifting up the voice or lifting up the sentiment of Black Lives Matter is basically trying to say to you that you've decided as a country, as a nation, to ignore the fact that we have the same value as you. And that we, you know, or whatever, that we should have the same rights as you, that we should have the same accessibility as you. And so, but anyway, you know, they get mad at the words, they, you know, or whatever.
They
So you
can't
know
stand
they're not gonna get
They can't
behind,
stand it.
no changes. You know, they're not gonna get behind no changes, the changes that are necessary. They're not gonna get with us in protesting and seeking changes because they really think that they are benefiting. One of the things that I heard you preach about recently, and it hit like a rock, was you talked about how white supremacy, or racism, I should say, racism. What people don't acknowledge and what people don't understand is that racism does more damage to them, the oppressor, than the oppressed. Because can you imagine having to live like that 24/7? You know, having to, you know, try to carry this make believe, you know, racial construct, you know, around, and really, you know, try to implement it and really try to play it out, you know, every day. And to carry that kind of hatred in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, you know, and then you passing it a down generation after generation, and so on and so forth. You know, how can you live like that? You must be living in a world of anxiety, depression, you know, and just the whole nine. You can't be free. You cannot be free.
Oh, so much that we could continue to talk about. So let's just give some last minute points about the election that is in 8 days. I've got a meeting with the mass heads of churches at 11. Anybody else out there all zoomed out beside me? We transition from one to another, but we're 8 days. 8 days. Is early voting still going on here, or has it? When does it end? I'm talking to you. You looking at comments?
October 30th.
Okay, October 30th.
No,
so
you're going in and out. You're going in and out for me.
Early voting is still going on here. Okay, so those in Massachusetts, get out there and vote. Okay, I need y'all to do that. Bro Bayman, yes, sir. I got your text. I'm gonna answer it in a minute, and I have no doubt that you're with me, brother.
Oh,
None
yeah.
at all.
Come on. We weren't talking about you.
None at all. But listen, get out and early vote. If you haven't mailed in, you got a week for it to get there. Mail it in today.
We prefer for you to have it dropped off. Yeah.
I really want you to drop it off, but get it out today. Okay, this is what we need to do. 8 days, man. 8 days. People died. People gave their lives.
We'll be having our last forum on Thursday. Don't forget to announce that.
Well, you go ahead and announce it. You talking? You're gonna announce it and then tell me to announce it. Go ahead and announce it.
I sometimes forget that we on this, whatever it is, this
but
platform.
She does that to me all the time. She'll be like, you know, call up such and such and tell them so and so and so, and I'll be like, ain't
you do it
in your hand? You know, or can you announce this, that, here's the mic, announce it. So go ahead and make the announcement.
Oh no, so this Thursday coming up, October 29th, we'll be having our last forum for this election cycle. One vote, one voice. One vote, one voice. And it's getting back to that collective power that is so necessary, that unity that is so necessary. Black women have definitely been showing the rest of the world how to do this. So we already know, what to do. We already know how to strategize. We already know how to come together and, put our votes together so that we can send one message and, with one voice. And so we're hoping that Black men and good white people, white people that understand that Black Lives Matter, that get it, they know, family. I don't even want to just say white people and brown people and yellow people, or whatever. Just people in general that seek justice for all, that seeks fairness for all, rich or poor. That want to destroy this notion of racism in this country and destroy classism and sexism, all those isms. We got to go to the polls together, and we got to vote accordingly together,
We
to
got
help.
to vote. Matter of fact, I'm gonna change my background right now because we have to. Right there.
We have to vote. We have to vote, and
vote.
we need to vote collectively, and we need to vote in unity. And I do believe, because the early voters have voted this election cycle in record numbers. I believe we're up to like over 60 million people across the country that have already voted. And yeah, and probably by Friday it might be double that, I don't know. But never, it might be more than that. It might exceed that, more than that. So, but anyway, most people are being asked to early vote or absentee vote. But get your votes in early, so that you'll have less conveniences to deal with on November 3rd.
And if y'all had voted yesterday, y'all could have got some free chicken. But
oh yeah.
Oh well.
In Springfield.
Y'all could have got some free chicken and some green beans.
We got some good people who did.
And some what else?
She had jerk pork. Miss Robin had jerk pork. Which was
I don't. Me and the pig don't get along.
And we had the barbecue
the
chicken.
devil into the pig.
Chicken. It was a good old soul food meal. And shout out to Rosemary Sakamani. She came by. She bought some dinners yesterday. It was awesome. And shout out to Amani's mother and grandmother. I just love them. They came out, they supported, they bought some dinners and then made a donation. People have really started to encourage WIN and encourage the members of WIN. I mean, this has been a joy. And as the members of WIN, the WIN committee, Bishop, we want you to know that we understand.
They need to know what WIN stands for, because everybody don't know.
That's Women in the NAACP, the Greater Springfield branch. So the WIN committee here in Springfield is activated. We're fully charged, and we understand, Bishop, that this work continues well after this work continues forever, that this is not about what happens November 3rd. This is about, empowering our community, moving forward, for generations to come.
Absolutely. So we can't underscore it enough. We've been beating this drum for months now, and we'll continue to beat this drum because, we really mean it when we say, this is the most important election in a generation, and we really need y'all to get out there and vote. I guess I need to be paying attention to some of these comments because you see something funny. I don't know what it is. I have no.
Shout out to Michael Moore.
I don't know what Michael Moore on here talking about.
Shout out, bro. Shout out to Brother Stokes. Yes. And all my sisters in WIN, all of y'all.
Here we go, Deborah Fletcher. Oh Lord, you don't migrate. You don't migrated over from Facebook to YouTube all live. in the city matter. Black lives matter. Okay. Black lives matter. I got that too. I got that as a background too. I ain't gonna put it up right now. I ain't even gonna mess with that. Anyway, I gotta get out your way. This is the spoken word, the extended version. Need y'all to get out there, need y'all to vote, need y'all to do what y'all need to do. That means on next Monday, that'll be my last broadcast before the election. So it's going to be an important one.
The election is November 3rd, so that's that Tuesday.
Yeah, that's going to be an important. Matter of fact, I will be. I'm trying to think. We've got a Kojic votathon. It might be that Monday as well. But anyway, y'all will hear about what's going on upcoming for the next week, because we're at the finish just about.
Right. Massachusetts needs to remember though that the deadline for early voting is this Friday. They need to remember that it's this Friday. So they'll have a couple of days off before the national election on Tuesday.
All right, y'all. Gotta go. On to the next meeting. Try to slip in and get me a latte. So in any case, until the next time I talk to you, you talk to me. Always remember, God loves you, and so do I. Peace. See ya. We out.